Gregory Peck really hated these actors. You won't believe who Gregory Peck was born as. His real name was Eldred Gregory Peck on April 5, 1916 in La Jolla, California. His early life had both good times and hard times. Even though he grew up near the beautiful Californian coast, his childhood was hard because his parents split up when he was just a little boy. His grandmother mostly raised him, so Peck learned how to take care of himself and be strong early on, skills that would help him a lot in his future acting job. His young years also taught him to be quiet, serious, and have good manners that became his special thing when he acted in movies. After high school, Peck studied to become a doctor at the University of California, Berkeley, but soon found out he loved acting on stage. It was during his college years that he got involved in drama, acting in plays, and learning that acting was not just something fun to do, but what he really wanted to do with his life. By the 1940s, Gregory Peck had moved to New York to learn acting at the neighborhood playhouse with Sanford Meisner, one of the best years of acting. His tall, strong body, face that showed feelings, and natural ability to seem honest made him stand out right away. Within a few years, Hollywood noticed him. He made his first movie in Days of Glory, 1944, a World War II movie, and from that point on, his career went up fast. Peck quickly became one of the top leading men of that time. People liked him not only for his good looks but also for how deep he made each character feel. His early work in movies like The Keys of the Kingdom 1944, for which he got nominated for an Academy Award, showed he was an actor who could show strength, weakness, and doing what's right a lot once. During the late 1940s and 1950s, Peck made his name as one of the best actors of his time. He worked with some of the most famous directors of that time, including Alfred Hitchcock in Spellbound, 1945, and King Vidor in Duel in the Sun 1946. He also starred in cowboy movies, war movies, and book-based movies showing his ability to play different roles. One of his most important movies of this time was Gentleman's Agreement, 1947, in which Peck played a newspaper writer who pretends to be Jewish to show how people hate Jewish people. The movie, which caused arguments at the time, was a big success and showed Peck's willingness to take on movies about social problems that made audiences think about unfairness and doing what's right. Peck's best achievement, though, came in 1962 with his acting of Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird. Based on Harper Lee's loved book, the role was perfectly right for Peck's dignified and caring movie personality. As Finch, he showed the moral heart of a small southern town during the Great Depression, defending an innocent black man wrongly blamed for rape. The acting earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor and stays one of the most famous performances in movie history. Many generations of people watching, students, and even lawyers have said Atticus Finch was a personal hero to them. And Peck himself often talked about the role as one of the most important in his career. Beyond his work life, Gregory Peck was deeply committed to helping people and being a good citizen. He was active in politics, supporting liberal causes, civil rights, and social fairness throughout his life. He used his voice to talk about things like stopping nuclear weapons, workers' rights, and freedom of speech. His willingness to use his fame to fight for important causes earned him respect not only in Hollywood, but also around the world. Because of his achievements and honesty, Peck got many honors, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1969, given by President Lyndon B. Johnson. Peck kept acting into the 1980s and 1990s, taking on a mix of TV and movie roles, though at a slower pace. His later works included appearances in MacArthur, 1977, where he played the famous general, and The Boys from Brazil, 1978, a scary thriller about Nazi war criminals. Even in his latter years, his presence was powerful, reminding audiences of his lasting talent. His final major role came in the 1990s when he appeared in a made-for-TV series about Abraham Lincoln, another person of moral courage. Gregory Peck's personal life, much like his work career, showed stability, dignity, and a lasting sense of commitment. Over the course of his lifetime, he was married twice, and both marriages played big roles in shaping his life outside of Hollywood. His marriages brought him not only companionship but also family, giving him stability in a way that balanced the hard demands of being famous. His first marriage was to Greta Kuusinen, a Finnish-born woman who worked as a hairdresser and later became active in charity work. The two were married in 1942 at the beginning of Peck's rise to fame as a leading man in Hollywood. At the time, he was still pretty new to the movie business, But his reputation was quickly growing, and Greta became a supportive person in his early years of fame. Together, they built a home life while he was dealing with the pressure of sudden stardom. Appearing in one praised movie after another through the 1940s, their marriage gave them 3 sons, Jonathan, Stephen, and Carrie, and for more than 10 years, they tried to balance family duties with Gregory's demanding career. Despite their shared commitment, the marriage had problems, as often happens in Hollywood, where long hours, constant travel, and public attention can be very hard on personal relationships. After 13 years together, Gregory and Greta divorced in 1955, although the end of their marriage washered. They stayed united in their love for their children, and Greta continued to be respected as someone who had shared an important part of Peck's early life. Shortly after his divorce, Gregory Peck started what would become a lifelong partnership with French newspaper writer Véronique Pisani. Their love story began when Véronique, who was working as a reporter for the French daily newspaper France, interviewed him in 1953 at the time. Peck was promoting one of his movies in Paris, and what began as a work meeting quickly grew into a meaningful connection. 2 years later, in 1955, Gregory and Véronique were married, beginning a marriage that would last nearly half a century until Peck's death in 2003. Their marriage was marked by great love, mutual respect, and a sense of lasting companionship that many considered rare in Hollywood. Véronique was not only his wife, but also his closest friend and constant supporter, going with him to events, movie premieres, and international gatherings, while also building her own life as a person who helped charities and supported arts. Together, Gregory and Véronique had 2 children, Anthony and Cecilia, who grew up surrounded by the warmth of their parents' relationship and the cultural richness that Véronique, with her European background, brought into the family. The Peck home became a place where art, movies, and smart conversation thrived, showing both Gregory's status as a Hollywood icon and Véronique's sophistication. Friends and co-workers often talked about how devoted Gregory was to his family and how much his second marriage helped him during the later parts of his career. While his first marriage had given him his start in family life, it was his second that lasted as one of the most admired Hollywood marriages of its time. Gregory and Véronique relation was a partnership in the truest sense, one that survived the ups and downs of fame and time. When Peck passed away in 2003, Véronique was by his side, having shared nearly 48 years of marriage with him. Their bond stays a reminder of Gregory Peck's loyalty and ability to love. These qualities were as clear in his personal life as they were in the characters he played on screen. Gregory Peck was known to millions as one of the most dignified, gracious, and gentlemanly actors ever to step in front of the camera. With his tall body, commanding voice, and seriousness that made him a natural for roles of honesty and quiet strength, he became a symbol of Hollywood's golden time. Yet, like all men, Peck had his private opinions, and behind the polished outside, there were certain people in the movie business who thoroughly tested his patience. While he rarely let such personal feelings leak into the public, those who knew him well were aware that Peck had a quiet, burning dislike for a few of his peers, and when he did comment on them in private, he was direct, harsh, and often surprising in his honesty. One of the names that always came up in conversations was Charlton Heston. Though both men were regents of the screen during roughly the same time, Peck viewed Heston's performances as too stiff and without subtlety. Charlton always thought looking heroic was enough. Peck once said with history humor, "But acting is not about standing tall and making your jaw firm. It is about truth." And truth, I'm afraid, was never something I found in his performances. The two appeared in different types of movies. Peck with his realistic dramas, Heston with his biblical and epic adventures, but their paths crossed socially and in business circles. Peck, who was proud of his subtlety, considered Heston separate more show than soul. And a third actor who earned Peck's annoyance was Robert Mitchum. They starred together in Cape Fear 1962, a landmark thriller in which Mitchum played one of movie's most scary villains opposite Peck's strong lawyer. While the movie was a commercial and critical success, Peck later admitted that working with Mitchum had been a grinding experience. Mitchum had talent, there's no denying it, Peck acknowledged, but he was lazy, careless, and sometimes downright distasteful to the craft. He preferred to drink, to gamble, to walk on to Sethel prepared, and that was never acceptable to me. Acting demands discipline, and Mitchum thrived on rebellion. Despite his personal bad feelings, Peck kept being professional during the shoot, but off-camera, their relationship was cool at best. Perhaps most surprising was Peck's distaste for Marlon Brando, the rebellious method actor who changed Hollywood acting forever. While critics and younger audiences praised Brando as a genius, Peck found his style self-centered and unnecessary. Brando was brilliant when he could, Peck admitted in later years. But trouble was he rarely cared. He would mumble his lines, disrespect directors, and treat the process as if feet were beneath him. That was not artistry in my view. It was arrogance. Peck, with his classical training and respect for tradition, clashed in ideas with Brando's unpredictable style. Where Peck saw professionalism as sacred, Brando often enjoyed chaos, and that chaos annoyed Peck beyond measure. A more personal dislike developed toward Frank Sinatra, not so much for his acting as for his behavior. Peck respected Sinatra as a singer and entertainer, but found his Hollywood reputation distive. Frank never knew when to stop buying Frank Sinatra. Peck once said sharply, "He brought the swagger, the entourage, the ego into every room, and that weighs hosting. You cannot be bigger than story," and Frank always was, while Leith never engaged in a dramatic public fight. Those close to Peck knew he avoided Sinatra whenever possible. Despite these strong dislikes, Peck rarely spoke badly of others in interviews, preferring to keep a gracious, diplomatic public image. His criticisms, when revealed, usually came years later in memoirs, private letters, or honest conversations with trusted friends. He understood that bitterness could ruin a career, and he refused to let his personal complaints overshadow the dignity he worked so hard to show on screen. Still, the actors he mentioned most often, Heston, Mitchum, Brando, and Sinatra, stayed the one she truly could not respect or admire, no matter how much the public adored them. And so, while Gregory Peck stood as a towering figure of honesty in movies, even he was human enough to dislike, to criticize, and to reject certain personalities in his business. His comments, measured but biting, reveal a man who valued professionalism, truth, and discipline above all, and who could not stand those who, in his eyes, compromised the sacred art of acting. On June 12, 2003, Gregory Peck, one of the most admired and respected actors in the history of American movies, passed away peacefully in his sleep at the age of 87. The cause of his death was reported as bronchopneumonia, a serious breathing condition that can be particularly dangerous for elderly people. Peck's death happened in the comfort of his own home in Los Angeles, California, the city that had long been both his workstage and his personal sanctuary. His final moments were marked by quiet dignity, and he was not alone. His devoted wife, Veronique Pisani, with whom he had shared nearly 5 decades of marriage, was at his side. Their lasting relationship had been a cornerstone of Peck's later years, giving him stability, love, and companionship after decades of a career often spent under the bright lights of Hollywood. Following his death, Peck was buried in the Cathedral of Our Lady of Angels Mausoleum, a grand Roman Catholic cathedral in downtown Los Angeles that serves as the final resting place for several notable people. The decision to bury him there showed not only his importance as an actor, but also his deep ties to his faith and his community. The cathedral, with its soaring architecture and peaceful atmosphere, offered a fitting and dignified place for admirers and loved ones to pay their respects to a man whose presence on screen and in public life had left a lasting mark on generations. The funeral and memorial services for Peck brought together friends, family, and co-workers from across the entertainment world, as well as admirers who saw in him a symbol of honesty and decency. One of the most touching moments of the ceremony was the eulogy given by actor Brock Peters. Peters' presence at the service carried deep symbolic meaning. Decades earlier, he had played Tom Robinson, the black man unjustly accused of a crime in the 1962 movie To Kill a Mockingbird. In that classic movie, Gregory Peck had played Atticus Finch, the principled lawyer who defended Robinson despite overwhelming press and societal pressures. Their on-screen relationship had become one of the most lasting portrayals of justice, empathy, and moral courage in movie history.